Okay, I made this video because I'm not here in class today. The good thing is that day 3, exponents, you already know how to do. So this should go pretty fast, and you should be able to finish the homework before you walk out of the classroom today. So we already know all of these rules. When we multiply with the same base, what do we do with the exponents? And you say, oh, we add them. So b to the x plus y. When we divide with the same base, what do? Right, we subtract them, b to the x minus y. When we raise the power to a power, what do we do with the exponents? Right, multiply them. And anything to the 0 power is, of course, 1. So that's all we're doing today. We're just practicing these exponent rules, because tomorrow we're going to do, well, Monday, we're going to do fractional exponents. So we have to know these rules really well so that we can use them with fractions. Okay, so a few exercises for the product. Remember, when they have the same base, we add the exponents. So you're thinking 10 plus 3. Of course, none of us write that. We just write x to the 13. Now this one, remember, the 5 is kind of out there by itself. You can think of this as 5 times x to the 4th times 6 times x to the 3rd. So we can go ahead and multiply 5 times 6 to get 30. And then we can say x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. Add those exponents, we get x to the 7th. Coefficients, the numbers in front, we still multiply like regular. All right, this one is all kind of jumbled. If I reorganize it, x squared times x to the 6th times y squared times y. So the x squared times x to the 6th, we add those two, we get 8. Remember, y is y to the 1. So y squared times y to the 1 is just y to the 3. All right, the quotient law, remember, when we have the same base, we divide. So, when we have the same base, we subtract. So this is x to the 8 minus 2, so we get x to the 6th. When I have coefficients, I go ahead and simplify those. 6 divided by 12 is a half, so I'm going to put a 1 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. I have x to the 10 divided by x to the 4. 10 minus 4 is 6, and that's going to be x to the 6th on top, because x to the 10th was on top. So you could write it like that, or you could just write it as x to the 6th divided by 2. It doesn't really make any difference. So here I'm going to do my x's, x to the 6th divided by x to the 1. Remember, that's 6 minus 1. So x to the 5th, and then the y's, y to the 3 minus 2, and y to the 1. Or just x to the 5th y. You can see how we might end up with some negative exponents when we subtract. We'll talk about that here. If I think about this, I have x to the 2 minus 5. That's x to the negative 3. But we don't usually leave things with negative exponents. Another way to think of this, instead of x to the negative 3, is if I think about this and I expand it, I have x times x, and then I have x times x times x times x times x, right? I have 5 on the bottom and only 2 on the top. The 2 on the top are going to cancel with 2 of them on the bottom, and I'm going to be left with 1 over x to the positive 3. These two things, x to the minus 3 and 1 over x to the positive 3, are the same. So if you have to take something that's a negative exponent, remember, it's going to flip it over and make it in the denominator, okay? Or if the negative is in the denominator, it'll flip it and it becomes in the numerator. So we'll talk more about that, not today. All right, so x to the 3rd divided by x to the 3rd. If I use my rules, x to the 3 minus 3 is x to the 0, which of course is 1. And then you say to me, well, Mrs. Struckman, we didn't need to do all that. those two things are the same, we knew they were going to cancel out to 1. But that just shows you that's why x to the 0 is 1. Okay, so 24 divided by 3, that's going to be 8 on top. I have x to the 5th divided by, x to the 8th divided by x to the 5th. 8 minus 5 is 3. I'm going to put x to the 3 on top. And then this one, I have 2 minus 5. Well, I'm going to call that y to the 3rd, because 5 minus 2 is 3. But I'm going to put it on the bottom. Oh, sugar. Why did I write 5? Y to the 3rd, because there are more y's on the bottom than there are at the top. So I'm going to have y to the 3rd on the bottom. I mean, technically, a person could say 8x to the 3rd, y to the negative 3. But again, we don't leave things with negative exponents. I don't know who makes up these rules. I'm just telling you, we don't leave things with negative exponents. So we have to leave it like this. Okay, so when we raise a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So x to the 6 times 5 makes x to the 30. No big deal. X to the 5 times 6, x to the 30. Notice those two are the same. It didn't really matter, it didn't really matter whether I had, which one was where, because they're 5 and 6, it doesn't make any difference. All right, this one, remember you're going to share that 3 with both of them, because remember, technically if I write it out, it's xy times xy times xy, which makes x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. We have to make sure we share. I'm going to use the word share, not distribute. Share that exponent with everything inside the parentheses. Same way here. I want to share everything, so I have x squared to the 3rd times y to the 4th to the 3rd. You don't have to write this step, but you do need to think it. So 2 times 3 makes 6, and 4 times 3 makes 12. The same way with this one, you got to share that 2 with both of them. So it's going to be x squared over y squared. And this one, you have to make sure you share it with both. So 3 to the 3rd over x squared to the 3rd. 3 to the 3rd is 27. X squared to the 3rd. Multiply the exponents x to the 6th. All right, we got 2 more examples, and then I think we're done for the video. Make sure you share this with everybody. So 2 to the 3rd times x squared to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd is 8. X squared to the 3rd. Multiply those exponents, you get x to the 6th. Okay, make sure you share it with everybody inside the parentheses. So like here, I have negative 2 squared. Notice I put that negative 2 in parentheses, times x squared times y to the 5th squared over 3 squared times z to the 3rd squared. Everything gets squared. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. X to the second is x to the 4th. Y to the 5th squared is y to the 10th. 3 squared is 9. And z to the 3rd to the 2nd is z to the 6th. Okay, make sure you share that. That's important. We do a lot of those things. Make sure you're paying attention. Okay? All right, good luck.